The quantum crystal didn't just burn against Dr. Marcus Holloway's palm, it screamed. Each civilization's death throes leaked through his neural interface like acid through cracked glass, flooding his synapses with the taste of copper and ozone. The child's voice cut deepest of all clicks and whistles, forming words no human throat could speak. "Mama, the hungry ships are here again. Will you sing to me while the world ends?" Then silence. Always silence. Marcus had known 3 of the children on Aurora Prime. Little Sarah Chen, who'd sent him a drawing of Earth's sunrise just days before the flames came. The Okafor twins, who'd been planning to become xenobiologists like their hero him. Their voices weren't in the crystal's databanks. They'd been too young to leave final words, too small for their screams to matter to the Voran recording systems. 847 civilizations, each bearing the same 3-pronged scar, the mark of the Voran Empire. Not historical records, but a hunter's trophy case spanning 50 millennia. A mother's lullaby cut short, mid-note. The crystalline death song of beings, made of living light. Collective consciousness severed in coordinated strikes. 3 months in the graveyard that was Valith Prime had taught Marcus he wasn't an archaeologist anymore. He was a prosecutor, building a case against the universe itself, and the evidence was burning holes through his mind. The final slot blinked, empty, waiting. Entry 848. Classification pending. He stared at the void where humanity's epitaph would soon be written, and something cold settled in his chest, like swallowed starlight. The killers were still hunting. Ambassador Elena Vasquez let the dead speak for themselves in the Galactic Assembly's metallic cathedral. No visual displays, no political theater, just the raw transmission of final words echoing through chambers designed to inspire awe. Today, those walls felt more like a tomb. "Distinguished delegates," she began, her voice carrying the weight of eons, "we stand at the intersection of justice and extinction." In the obsidian amphitheater, Sovereign Vex's Thule lounged like death, taking afternoon tea. His chitinous exoskeleton clicked with each breath, mandibles dripping luminescent hunger onto the assembly floor. When the coral mind's final collective thought, "Why do the stars weep acid?" echoed through the hall, he smiled with the satisfaction of a collector arranging butterflies. 847 civilizations, Elena continued, watching the galaxy's representatives squirm as children's voices filled the chamber. "You spent 50 millennia teaching the galaxy that mercy was suicide. Congratulations, you've graduated us from your school." The Altarian delegates' gill slits fluttered in distress. The crystalline zephyrins chimed like broken bells, their harmonic frequencies stuttering with each recorded scream. Vexthal stirred, compound eyes reflecting chamber lights like scattered stars. "The weak exist to teach lessons about evolution. We are gardeners pruning galactic overgrowth, ensuring only the strong survive to see tomorrow's dawn." Elena felt something crystallize in her chest, not fear, but terrible clarity. "Then consider this, your final exam. We're about to teach you what happens when the meek inherit more than just the earth." The vote came swiftly. 47 for condemnation, 31 abstentions, 22 against. Elena watched the numbers scroll past like a countdown to extinction, not humanity's, but the galaxy's faith in its own systems. Vexthul rose with fluid grace, his massive form casting shadows that seemed to devour light. Humanity speaks with the voices of the dead, as if ghosts could rewrite the laws of nature. Perhaps you require education in how reality truly functions. The transmission from Aurora Prime ended 6 hours later, not with words, but with light. 15,000 souls converted to expanding plasma in less time than it took to scream. The Voran broadcast the execution across every network, ensuring the galaxy understood what happened to species that forgot their place. Then they waited for humanity's inevitable surrender. Instead, Earth went silent. Silence was humanity's native language now. Not the absence of sound, but the presence of choice. The pause between heartbeats, where civilizations decided whether to be predator or protector. The breath before, words that could end or create worlds. Deep beneath Titan's methane storms, General Marcus Torres stood in the cathedral of humanity's darkest secret. The echo chamber stretched for kilometers in every direction, its walls lined with crystalline nodes that hummed with barely leashed quantum fury. Like archaeologists' careful brushwork revealing the bones of titans, humanity's peaceful facade had been slowly uncovering the skeleton of something vast and patient beneath. Torres had spent 30 years learning to kill efficiently. The Echo Arsenal represented 3 centuries of learning to kill precisely with surgical care for what deserved to live, and absolute certainty about what didn't. He didn't command weapons. He shepherded ontological editors that treated existence like rough draft prose, marking the universe's violent sentences for deletion and leaving only the poetry of life intact. Status report, Commander Park, Torres said, his voice echoing in the vast space. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Park materialized beside him, neural implants flickering like captive lightning. The silence protocols are fully operational, sir. We've mapped every Voran military signature from here to the galactic rim. When you give the word, we can reach out and touch them all simultaneously. Torres studied the tactical displays floating before him, 3 centuries of preparation distilled into elegant equations. The Echo Arsenal wasn't just a weapon, it was humanity's answer to a universe that had forgotten how to ask what if. It reached through dimensions that had no names, touched forces that existed before physics learned to behave. Show me the precision parameters again. Park gestured, and the display zoomed to show a Voran dreadnought in exquisite detail. We don't destroy, we perform cosmic surgery, cut out the cancer, leave the patient intact. Every weapon system erased, while the coffee makers remain functional. Every command deck edited out, while preserving the nurseries. We whisper to reality itself. Perhaps you made an error. Torres nodded slowly. For 3 centuries, humanity had carried the burden of ultimate weapons, like priests carrying relics, with reverence for their power and terror of their necessity. Aurora Prime had transformed those priests into surgeons, and the galaxy would never be the same. Activate the array, he ordered. Let them learn that silence isn't the absence of sound, it's the pause before the thunder. The endless hunger cut through space like a dagger of living night, leading the Extinction Armada toward humanity's cradle. Sovereign Vexus Thul stood in his command sanctum, watching Sol grow from distant star to blazing furnace. 500 dreadnoughts followed in his wake, each one a cathedral of destruction, capable of cracking worlds like eggs. He had conquered 1,000 worlds, watched civilizations crumble beneath the weight of Voran superiority. Victory had always tasted the same. The sweet copper of broken resistance, the ozone scent of worlds learning their place. Today would be no different. Report on human defensive positions, he commanded. War Commander Thexville consulted his tactical displays, mandibles clicking with predatory satisfaction. 2,000 vessels in defensive spheres around their homeworld. Primitive, kinetic weapons, basic energy shields, their largest ship masses barely 500,000 tons. Vex Thul's laughter was like breaking glass in a tomb. Humanity had responded exactly as predicted, with futile posturing, followed by inevitable capitulation. Their silence had been the white flag of a species finally learning wisdom. Open a channel to Earth. Let them hear our Emperor's final judgment. His image materialized on every screen in the Sol system, a chitinous nightmare with eyes like black holes and mandibles that wept bioluminescent hunger. Behind him, the Extinction Armada spread across space like a cancer of metal and malice. Children of Earth. Vex Thul began, his voice carrying the weight of eons. I am the ending of civilizations. I am the harvest moon that rises when worlds grow too proud. Surrender now, and 90% of your species will survive as servants. Resist, and follow your colony into the fire that cleanses all defiance. The response came from a single human whose calm voice cut through the transmission like a scalpel through silk. General Torres appeared on Vexus Thul's screens, his expression serene as a priest at prayer, or an executioner checking his blade. Sovereign Vexus Thul, you came here expecting to find weakness where you had created morning. You will find something else entirely. Torres held up a crystalline switch that pulsed with inner light like a captive star. You have 1 minute. Use it to remember every civilization you've erased. Use it to understand what you've awakened. Vex Thul's mandibles spread in contempt. Your toys cannot stand against the extinction armada. We have ended species that spanned 30 seconds. Torres's voice carried new edges, sharp enough to cut souls. The galaxy spent 50 millennia believing that strength meant the ability to destroy. We're about to introduce you to a more terrifying concept, the strength to choose what to destroy. You are nothing. You are 10 seconds. Something vast and patient studied Vex Thul through the connection, weighing his species against scales he couldn't comprehend. You wanted to see humanity without mercy. This is us without restraint. You cannot. Torres didn't press the switch. He blessed it, like a priest performing last rites on an entire concept of warfare. He anointed the galaxy's capacity for cruelty and watched it die. Reality hiccuped. At first, the universe seemed unchanged. The extinction armada maintained formation, weapons powered, death ready to rain down. Then Vex Thul noticed gaps in his tactical display spaces, where magnificent dreadnoughts should be but somehow weren't. War Commander, status report? He snapped. Thexville's voice carried terror disguised as confusion. The Death's Herald was in formation 30 seconds ago, sovereign, but our sensors show it never existed. The Echo Arsenal didn't destroy ships. It convinced the universe those ships had been poorly planned. It edited violence out of existence with the precision of a cosmic proofreader, leaving only the margins where life was meant to flourish. Physics remembered how to work, and 500 ships that had conquered galaxies simply weren't. Reports cascaded across the fleet like a virus of impossibility. The Worldbreaker faded like a half-remembered dream. The Terramaker became a ghost image before vanishing entirely. One by one, 500 instruments of apocalypse were subtracted from reality, as if the universe itself had decided they were a mistake in need of correction. Crews found themselves floating in emergency pods, their life support intact, but their vessels reduced to quantum shadows. Not destroyed, simply convinced they had never been built. Their existence edited from the rough draft of space-time. "What are they doing to us?" Thexville whispered. Torres's voice filled every communication channel, reaching every Voran survivor drifting helplessly in space. "We are removing your capacity for violence. Every weapon you've built across 50 millennia is now a memory that reality no longer recognizes. Your crews live, your people survive. But your ability to make war has been permanently deleted from existence." Vex Thul found himself alone in a life pod, barely large enough for his massive frame. His flagship reduced to an echo of its former magnificence. Watching his fleet dissolve like sugar in acid, he realized he'd never truly understood what conquest meant. The humans weren't taking his ships, they were teaching him that ownership was just another illusion. Around him, the remnants of the extinction armada drifted like scattered seeds, 500 crews in tiny vessels, their instruments of conquest erased so completely that the universe had forgotten they ever existed. "Impossible," he gasped. "For 3 centuries, we chose restraint," Torres continued, his voice carrying the weight of humanity's collective decision. "We built weapons that could unmake stars and kept them sheathed. We developed the ability to rewrite the fundamental laws of physics and showed mercy instead." The implications crashed over Vex Thul like a tsunami of understanding. Humanity hadn't been weak. They had been holding back. Their peaceful nature hadn't stemmed from inability to wage war, but from the conscious choice of a species that knew exactly how terrible they could become. Aurora Prime changed that equation, Torres said, his voice now carrying echoes of 847 extinct civilizations. "You wanted to see humanity without mercy. Congratulations, Sovereign. You've achieved your goal." The collapse of the Voran Empire began before Vex Thul's pod had been rescued. News of the extinction armada's fate spread through quantum communications, carrying with it the impossible reality. Humanity possessed weapons that could edit war itself out of existence. Within hours, subjugated worlds that had known only Voran oppression for millennia began to stir. The Great Rebellion started not with battle cries, but with silence, the absence of the orbital platforms that had kept entire species in chains. The Voran had built their empire on fear, and humanity had removed their ability to inspire it. Marcus Holloway stood in the memorial garden where Aurora Prime had once flourished. The quantum flames that had consumed 15,000 souls had been replaced by something more enduring, a living testament to every voice the galaxy had silenced. At the garden's heart stood a crystalline spire that sang with the voices of 847 extinct civilizations, not mourning their deaths, but celebrating their vindication. The symphonist's unfinished lullabies played alongside the coral mine's collective dreams. The mirror maker's light songs danced through prismatic chambers, each note a thread in a tapestry of remembrance. Marcus placed his hand on the memorial's central crystal, feeling the quantum resonance of voices that had found their echo in humanity's choice. The inscription carved into its base served as both epitaph and prophecy. Here lies the galaxy's last chance for peace without justice. We are what you made us. We are what you feared we might become. The children of mercy have inherited the earth and all the stars beyond. The words continued in script that shifted between languages. To those who would test our resolve, we are the guardians of 847 species' final words. We are the enforcers of their mercy. Challenge the innocent, and learn why silence is the loudest sound in a universe that remembers everything. In the months that followed, human ships began appearing along trade routes throughout the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as shepherds. The Echo arsenal remained active, its quantum reach extending to every corner of known space, ensuring that the strong could no longer prey upon the weak with impunity. Vexthal himself became an unlikely prophet of this new order, traveling from world to world with a message that burned like acid in his throat. Humanity chose mercy for 3 centuries. We taught them that mercy was weakness. Now they show us what strength truly looks like. The galaxy had wanted to see humanity without restraint. Instead, they had created something far more terrifying: humanity with restraint backed by absolute power. Mercy, when properly weaponized, sounded exactly like justice. In the quantum echoes rippling through space-time, 847 extinct civilizations didn't whisper approval, they sang. For the first time in 50,000 years, the universe's background radiation carried harmony instead of screams. And in that cosmic choir, every species learned the most terrifying lesson of all. The universe had always been capable of peace. It had simply been waiting for someone strong enough to enforce it. Their deaths had found meaning. Their silence had found voice. Their memory had become the galaxy's salvation. The strongest weapon humanity had learned wasn't the power to destroy. It was the wisdom to know when destruction was the only mercy left to give. And in that terrible wisdom, the galaxy found its first true peace in 50,000 years.